This is the Citrus Experience podcast, brought to you by Citrus Men. We're passionate about growing premium grafted citrus trees and helping you on your growing journey. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or an emerging green thumb, this series is for you. We share expert advice, insider knowledge and practical tips you can apply because we know and grow citrus.
Hello and welcome to the Citrus Men podcast. I'm Susan Burns.
And I'm Gary Isles.
In this episode, we're going to be discussing what's new and what you might be missing out on. There's so many fabulous citrus cultivars, new selections available. We reckon it might be time to upgrade your citrus wardrobe. What do you think, Gary?
Yes, there's as well as some good old-fashioned varieties that we still use a lot of. There's some great new selections and cultivars that have come through over the last few years, and we're always on the lookout to see what we can offer in that world.
Sure. So, Gary, when did citrus first come to Australia? When did it come?
Well, there's a couple of stories. So there's native citrus, so they've been here thousands of years, I suppose.
Native citrus, you mean like the finger limes and the desert
I'm talking
limes?
finger limes, desert limes. There's a number of different ones and groups, but there is these native citrus. They look quite different to your normal exotic citrus, but yeah. So those citrus varieties have been here for years and years, way before settlement. So yeah, and we as you know, we do a lot in the finger lime world and a little bit with desert limes as well. So yeah, so there's they've been here for a long while, and we might have a mention about some thoughts about citrus and the Australian varieties, and also in the first fleet. So on the first fleet, when the first fleet arrived, they picked up citrus along the way. I think Tenerife was where they got quite a few from, because obviously coming out of the UK, there's it's not a lot of citrus in the UK because it's so cold, but they picked them up on the way and they kept them alive on the ship, and they planted them when they got here. So there's in the list you can see some pomelos. You can see, I think they mentioned Maltese, blood orange. There's some navels. Yeah, so there's quite a little selection that came out early on in settlement.
It must have been quite fabulous, if you think back in time, them discovering that, like tasting citrus for the first time and then potting them and bringing them over on a ship. I mean, it's hard enough sort of keeping them alive in your courtyard. Imagine on a rocking old wooden boat.
Yeah, well, it'd have to have fresh water to keep them alive too. So yes. I mean, of course, the story from Captain Cook about vitamin C and scurvy is well known. So carrying the tree will give you your own supply.
Yes. Look, we've got to make another episode about that because there's some wonderful stories around that, and there's a beautiful book on it too, which I lent you or gave you. And anyway, another episode.
Yep.
So
another episode. That's right.
So okay, so we've got two kind of lots of citrus going in Australia, but most people would have pretty traditional old-fashioned varieties in their garden. I assume if you've got an older tree, it's likely to be a more, an older-fashioned variety. Say in the lemons, that might be a Eureka or a Lyre lemon. Meyer lemon. It's not really a lemon. Anyway, and other ones maybe like a Tahiti lime, Washington navel. What are the traditional options?
They're your traditional varieties. Yeah, your Tahiti lime. Your Eureka lemon is the one that covers all uses. It's been very popular for many years and for good reason. It's a good lemon, and you can use it in cooking using your zest or your juice or slices or whatever. So it's a good traditional lemon, and that's what what people would have used in their home garden and commercially over many years.
And the Tahiti is a good everyday kind of a lime that most people would have.
Yes, we've spoken about Tahiti at length in episode 1. But yes, it's a good traditional lime that is very, very popular and very common in backyards.
Mm. So I know there probably isn't much in the lime world that supersedes a lime, a Tahiti lime, but I do know we have a fabulous Eureka lemon, which is a much better version of the traditional Eureka, the seedless Eureka.
Yes, we have. We've been fortunate enough to be able to source this seedless Eureka. It's very similar looking to the old-fashioned Eureka, but it's seedless. It was developed here in Australia, in Queensland, through a lot of selection. It was developed by a commercial grower in Queensland, and as I say, we're fortunate enough to be able to log into using that variety and offering it to the public through Citrus Mint. So yes, it's seedless. I haven't found a seed in many fruit that I've looked through, and it's very prolific. Flowers and fruits. Often you can find flower, mature fruit, and developing fruit on the same plant, as you can with the traditional Eureka. So it's got all the good attributes of the old line Eureka, but happen to be seedless, and that's a great bonus for squeezing juice into your cooking, into your drinks, cutting a slice and putting it anywhere.
And as we say on the label, there's no annoying pips. Because there is nothing more annoying than a pip in your lemon juice. But it is a terrific lemon, and I think we've got video footage on the Citrus Mint site where we talk about seedless Eureka. And I know those field trials, or the ones that are in Queensland, where it's a great zone for growing citrus, but it's such a heavy cropper. It just seems to be so bountiful and lush with fruit. I mean, I know that comes in time, but gee, if you're going to have a lemon, it'd be a bit of no question that's what you would choose.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And I just want to add, while we're talking about that, is that people might wonder why that plant costs a little bit more than the normal traditional lemon, and the reason for that is that there is what we call a royalty stream. So the people that went to all the trouble of selecting it out over years, they offer it to people like us, but it comes at a cost, and that's fair enough. They've done a lot of work, and they should be getting some benefit from that. So there's dollars that go back all the way back to the breeder for these varieties. So that's the reason why they're slightly more expensive.
Yes, and yeah, I think perhaps people don't know enough about that story, that people that is their livelihood, exploring and discovering cultivars and trialing them and growing them, and it's not just the time that goes into that. It's the time to trial a tree and to get it to fruit. I mean, as we know in your trial orchards, Gary, before we put anything on Citrus Mint, it's been grown in the field, and we've tested the fruit, we've eaten it, we've seen how it crops. We have to have the fruit to take photographs of it for our labels, so we know it very intimately. There's a lot of backstory into producing new varieties, and yeah, there's a cost to that for sure.
Yeah, and it's years of work.
Yeah. So, but I don't think there's much pushback. I think anybody that, it's no question. We sell a lot of that seedless Eureka. It's a beauty. It's a great lemon. And another great citrus variety that we have is the Caracara.
Yes, the Caracara is a pigmented navel. We heard about blood oranges. They're slightly different. This is a navel orange, so it's seedless and it's pigmented. It's a deep pink, and it colours reliably more than a blood orange. Is very climate dependent, and it can vary year to year. Cara is more stable in the colouring within the fruit, and the fruit does taste slightly different. In most of the pigmented fruit, you will pick up a taste difference, but it still tastes like a citrus and it still tastes like a navel. And it's, I love it. It's a great orange. Peels like a Washington navel does. So it peels, not like a mandarin, but it still peels okay. And its main use is for table use, for eating.
For eating. But when you say it's got a different taste, it's not tasting like a blood orange. It's not that intense, but it has got beautiful sort of raspberry lights, different to an orange flavour. It's got beautiful pink juice.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, apart from the colour, it's just like a normal navel orange, but you do get that beautiful pink inside, and that flavour difference. Now it's subtle, but it's almost like another sweet level of sweetness.
Sweetness, yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And as you say, I think that the really lovely advantage for that, and that's again with the development of citrus, is that it will grow over a wider terroir, like a zones. Whereas, as you say, to grow a good blood, you really need a crackingly cold winter and a baking hot summer, don't you?
In that desert climate.
Yeah, desert climate.
Yeah. But no, Cara, it's a great choice and something people to consider. And
another one of our little favourite new ones, which I adore, is the Sugar Bubba mandarin. Isn't that a fabulous one? Doing its thing right now at the time of our recording this episode.
Yes. Now there's a ripper of a little fruit. It's only tiny. It's a small fruit, but it's sweet, seedless. I've never found a seed in it, and it crops quite heavily. So the thing that's different that people may have to get used to is that it is a small fruit. It's not like the size of some of the fruit you'd buy in the supermarket, but it's small and sweet and like a great little mouthful.
Yes, it's about the size of a walnut or a ping pong ball. It's even smaller.
Yeah, ping pong ball, golf ball, about that size.
Yeah.
And fruits heavily. It's very popular around here. Those that it's in production, it's the first one that people are going to go to the source trees that we've got to eat the fruit. So you can always tell which ones are good because it's where the staff go for the fruit. So but as I said, seedless, heavy cropper. It does like a lot of mandarins. If you want to keep it and keep it in the fruit bowl, store it for a little while, you clip it so that the skin doesn't break when you pluck it off the tree. So you clip its best. But yeah, lovely little piece of fruit, and very, very popular amongst those people that know about it, which isn't a great lot of people at the moment.
No, and I think the thing too is, well, what I love about it is that, sure, the fruit is small, but like you can have a handful, like you have grapes. So you just eat them. And so instead of sitting down and eating a packet of Tim Tams, you can eat a bowl of Sugar Bubbas like that. And it tastes delicious, but it's they're also fabulous for kids. And I think if you've want to get fruity into kids, sticking those in their lunchbox or putting a bowl of Sugar Bubbas out is a great way to go. And it has such a lovely style too, doesn't it? And it has kind of, I don't know if this is peculiar to Sugar Bubba, but it fruits all the way up a sort of a long arching stem.
Yeah, it's not common in citrus, a long weepy growth, and it fruits all along it. So it's a little bit different that way, but still it makes no difference to having a great fruit.
No, it's beautiful. And just a very decorative tree as well, because it's so beautiful. So I suppose in our sort of, we know that there are a lot of new varieties around, and people can be assured that if we're growing it and promoting it on Citrus Men, that it is a rigid inch fabulous citrus to invest in. But the other thing are the rootstocks. They're always being upgraded or investigated, or new varieties coming in. And I think Flying Dragon, the one that we use on the dwarf rootstock, is a good example of that.
Yes, now rootstock's a whole world on its own. So yes, we do. We use a lot of Flying Dragon to produce our pipsqueak and dwarf ranges. And yeah, it holds the size of the tree down. I think we've mentioned that previously. But yeah, so, and talking about long-term things, it takes a lifetime generally to develop a rootstock, because not only have you got to do the breeding and the selecting, you've got to see how that performs under all the different varieties. And there's some that perform really well under some varieties and some that don't. So it's a whole, people could do and do to spend their whole life in that world of rootstocks. So but we're lucky enough to sit on the end of that and just pick the ones that suit us, and that's what we do at Citrus Men.
So do you get your rootstock named after you? I mean, I know I have to mention always Walter Swingle, the Swingle rootstock, but there's Cox. Is that named after Mr. Cox or Miss Cox?
Yes, it is, and that's an Australian bred rootstock, and Mr. Cox was worked for the New South Wales Department of Agriculture, and he was instrumental in developing that rootstock, which we use a lot of. It's a very good rootstock under lemons.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'm sure there isn't a Mr. Flying Dragon, though.
No. There is not. I think Flying Dragon was more a selection than being bred. It was selected, and it comes from out of Japan. It's comes out of that cold climate. So it one of the things apart from dwarfing is that it's cold resistant.
Cold, yeah, it's good for the cold.
Yeah.
Yes, as you say, that's a whole can of worms or a Pandora's box to open rootstocks. So we won't go there. We'll close that box. What about? Can you see it behind my little lemon pinky? What about that? That's one of our recent releases. The lemon,
yes.
The pink heart.
Yeah, and it's a variegated plant, and so we're talking about good lemons earlier. This is a good lemon, but a novelty as well. And the variegated plant, when it's grown, and it's a beautiful plant.
Gosh, it's beautiful.
Apart from the lemon that's pink on the inside, so it's a lovely plant. We've not had it a long while. We've got trees that you've got an example behind you there. We're long enough to see the fruit and how the plant grows. It gets the new flush has a pink tinge to it as well. So it's a very nice looking plant and presents beautifully. And you get these lemons that are variegated like you've got behind. As they mature, they do lose that variegation a bit and get more to a lemon colour. But there you are. That's what we call lemon pinky.
Lemon pinky. And these are, if anyone is watching, I know this is a podcast, but these are immature, clearly. That I just wanted to...
Yes, they're not ripe yet. No.
They're too small.
Yeah.
But
don't they look great?
Oh, so beautiful, so decorative. And I have a big pot of lemon pinky in my courtyard, and it's a knockout, whether it's got fruit on it or not. At all times of the year, it just looks stunning. It's got a beautiful trunk and then this big full head of variegated, creamy swirls of, it's just divine, grey and green and cream. It's fabulous if people are looking for things to put in a floral arrangement. If you want a bit of foliage, lemon pinky, because citrus foliage holds up in a vase for weeks. So, you can pad out a flower arrangement using citrus foliage. And florists, I think, do. But, if you're only going to have one lemon, be a toss-up between pinky or seedless eureka.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. If you want something that's a little bit different and a talking point, certainly lemon pinky will cover that.
Yeah, for sure. So, we have if anyone's hopped on the site and seen all the varieties we have, but one of the things that you were renowned for, Gary, was starting the double grafted lemon craze. I know it had been going around for years, but citrus splitzers. Now, what a great plant. Again, if you're looking you've got small space, you want to double your options.
Yes, well, we were, a number of years ago, we were having a discussion and thinking, well, lots of people living with courtyards and smaller backyards, how, it'd be nice for them to be able to have a pot or a corner in the garden that had a couple of varieties on it. We came to the decision that we'd always stick with just two, because although it's done, we felt that to get the two even and growing and fruiting and cropping was enough of a challenge. So we stuck with the two, and we call them splitzer, which indicates that it's split to two. So there's two grafts, and and we've got lemon and a lime, and a lemon and an orange, lemon and a mando, a couple of limes, Kaffir and Tahiti, and a mando and an orange. So we worked on what the best combinations were and trying to match the growth with each side. So that was the thought behind Citrus Splitzer, and now it's part of our normal production run.
Really are a terrific way to maximise your amount of citrus in a small space. I think too the important thing to mention is that the selections have been chosen because they have a similar, not the same, but a similar growth habit. One's not going to overly dominate another.
Yeah, that's the challenge, and that's what we've tried to get around by the varieties we've selected, and we're still working on different propagation methods to see if we can always improve that. Constant improvement is one of the things that we like to say we do, and that's part one of the things we do with the citrus splits is always trying to improve it.
Yes, no, and look, a lot of people have got them, I know, and just going back to the varieties on there, one will always be a little bit more dominant than another. So we will just quickly say we've got a lot of videos that you can watch. You pruned down one a few years ago so people can see how important it is to keep that tree balanced. Don't let one side, just because it's bossy, don't let it boss the plant, yeah?
Yeah. You're the one that's in control. You're the one with the secateurs. Just clip it back if it starts to be much bigger than the other side, and try and let the other side get going.
Yes, I know, but people are scared, Gary. Are they scared of the tree, or are they scared of the secateurs? I'm not sure.
I think they're just scared of that they're doing the right thing by the plant, and the plant's very forgiving. Citrus are very forgiving, and they do love a prune too. So don't be frightened.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that they're just so much better when you pull them back into control. They behave better, like well-behaved children.
They do.
So
that's right.
So we've got probably another episode where we talk about all our beautiful citrus gems, which are, as we touched on before, they are our Indigenous range of native limes. But we have got something that we're very excited about to release, which is, when people are hearing this, will be available for the first time to the domestic gardener or the home gardener. Would you like to tell the story, Harry? You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about, and I'm really pleased to say that we've got this mandarin type of fruit that you've seen the fruit in the fruit shops for many years, marketed under a trademark, and we've it's now there's now available to us for propagation. So we've been growing it and testing it, and won't be long, and we'll have on the market what we're calling Onkonomi.
Onkonomi. You know that fruit. It's very, very large with a little bun on the top of its head.
Yeah, a little bun on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So and it is wonderful. And when it's ripe, it's so easy to eat and nice to peel. Mostly seedless. That's citrus. Occasionally you'll find a seed even in the navel orange, but mostly this Ponkonomi is seedless, and it separates beautifully. So once you peel it, you separate it and eat it very, very easily without getting covered in juice and all those things that some people are averse to. Not me, but some people are averse to. Covered by this lovely fruit. So yeah, we're very excited to have it in the system, and we're getting very close to being able to release it.
Yes. So as we record, the label is in production, and the plants are waiting to be dressed. And you want to. I don't know how many we've got in this first batch, but I know our beautiful Citrus Men friends are just going to jump on this, as they do with all of our fabulous varieties. But it's got a beautiful label which matches the high quality premiumness of, is that a word? Premiumness of this fruit. It's just, and it's a beautiful tree. It looks like a really good looking.
Yeah, grows nicely, and fruit's fairly early in its life, so you haven't got to wait 5 years for the fruit. Once the tree's established, it'll start fruiting quite early on, the first few years. Yeah, yeah, no, it's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. And with such a large fruit, Gary, so I know we talked about the mandarin. So we've got them at two extremes. We've got the little bubbers and we've got the big giants, the Ponkonomis. How much fruit is going to appear on the tree? Is it sort of like as bountiful as, where would you put it?
Yeah, I think you'd probably say bountiful is a good description. And it fruits within the tree a bit, so you won't see it so much. You'll have to sort of go looking within the tree. You'll see some of it, but as the tree grows, there's a lot of fruit that'll be within the tree.
Yeah, well, I can't wait for my tree to produce. I'm going to be like every other Citrus Men customer, and want my tree to grow quickly and produce luscious Ponkonomi fruits. I want to be the first kid on the block with a Ponkonomi.
Well, I think you might be.
Yes, I probably will be. Well, super interesting. So, look, we have touched on just only a few of the fabulous varieties that we have. Did I miss anything, Gary? Is there anything that's jumping out to you in our selections that people should have?
No, but I just want to mention before, I think we've covered enough of the varieties we don't, for now, but we'll cover more in the future. But I do just want to mention, we touched on it at the start of the podcast, about the Australian native lines. And there, in the scientific world, there is some debate, and obviously, I'm leaning to this side that the Australian native citrus were the beginning of citrus. Now, the Chinese and the Japanese will argue that till the cows come home, but we have this nice thought that our native citrus were the beginning of all the citrus. So I know one scientist that thinks that could be the case. So I'm happy to go with his opinion.
I really like that story. I think that, and it makes sense to me. There's sort of tens and thousands of years citrus has grown in Australia when we're all Gondwana land, and when we separated off, it sort of kind of makes sense that we had a variety of citrus.
I think so. We'll go with that. We'll go with that argument anyway.
Yeah, it's a good argument. Yeah. Well, super interesting. Thanks, Gary. And I think, look, we always say to people when they're asking us, what citrus should I grow? We always say, look, use the one that grow the one that you use the most in the kitchen or like to eat. I mean, that clearly makes sense. But what we're suggesting today is that there are versions and better versions or varieties of those cultivars. So, example being the lemon. So, yes, choose a tree that you want to use the fruit from, but you might want to also, as we've touched on other episodes, use it for a specific purpose, like a hedge. But we're going to encourage you today, after listening to this episode, is to try something new. Have a look at our range and give something a go. And they're always good in pots. They're always good in pots. As we said before, they love to be cut. So give it a go. Yeah. So
Sure.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for today, and thanks to all our listeners for joining us. And we look forward to meeting up with you in the next episode, and we'll continue chatting about our most favourite thing,
Citrus.
Thanks for listening. For resources and contact details relevant to this episode, please see the show notes. Subscribe to Citrus Experience so you know when the next episode goes live, and follow Citrus Men on social media for more great content.